This podcast provides a platform for our guests to share their experiences and inspire our listeners to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. As you listen, we invite you to explore how these concepts apply to your own story. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful. We're mic'd up with Mike DeChocho. Hey guys, I'm bringing you a dynamic guest today. He's talented, driven, and his first name literally translates to the word love. His mindset and work ethic are electric. You can find him working with children, inspiring and servicing his community. President, producer, and host of The Shift. Welcome to the show, Ame Mukendi Jr., also known as Sir Amazing.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Excited.
Yeah, man, and I'm glad to open up my audience here, and I know you're doing this on Instagram Live, and we're also shooting this right now in the middle of some turmoil. This coronavirus, COVID-19, is a very serious matter. We're staying home, but we're able to still work. We're able to still grind. We're able to do this cool interview, and hopefully, I'm getting some new listeners, and you're also getting some new listeners. What's cool is we're blending our audience and our reach together, which is why this is super fun. Also, I just want to get this out there. I feel you're the perfect guest for this show because our missions are parallel, something we talked about off camera. I want you to tell us more about The Shift. I know it's an initiative to inspire, educate, and motivate the youth. So let's start right there.
Starting with The Shift. So The Shift really was or is my dream, is my vision, being able to provide a platform for high school students specifically to express some of their needs, some of their struggles, at the same time as connecting them to people who are pursuing their dreams at a different level, on a different shift up. And that's really the whole premise of The Shift. Our first production was March 28th, 2018. So it's almost been 2 years. We did the talk show, we've done podcasts, we've done community events. Over the last 7-8 months, haven't done anything specifically with The Shift, but the thing is that I am The Shift. So everything that I do is a part of The Shift Up. And we got some things in the works. Corona has altered some things because I had some things planned to do with students during the summer.
Yeah, you're an event guy, right? You do event speaking, right? So, I mean, this is a big hit for you, getting up on stage and meeting with the community. So how are you staying positive during this tough time? What are you doing to kind of keep your mind?
I'm in a good place. So I mentioned I'm actually not in Buffalo right now. I'm in Atlanta with my family. And things I've picked up here, but it's not the same as what it is back home. But positivity is just a part of the mission. It's constantly refueling and recharging and reading the batteries. Like I've gone live a few times, have a conversation with with a brother I've been working with for a while. We've been doing some things on Sundays, just kind of presenting words, because I always look at it as worse things have happened to better people. So, I'm blessed to have an opportunity. Even when I was coming down here, some people were like, "Oh, it's not a good time to travel." And I'm like, I trust God. I don't move in fear. So I'm staying positive, just understanding there's a master plan. And I also look at it like this: it's the 20s. If I love history, because you got to know where you're from to know where you're going.
Correct.
100 years ago, we had the stock market crash.
Right.
There was World War I was in 1915 era. There was a huge, I think it was a flu in like 1918.
The Spanish flu. It was very, very similar. It was the Spanish flu, and it wiped out a lot more people. I'm not saying, again, I'm not taking it lightly with COVID-19, but Spanish flu was wicked as well, and we don't know where this thing's going to end. That's, I think, with the uncertainty of what's going on right now has a lot of people worried, but you're right. Like if we can be doing this podcast from the comfort of our own home, we're doing a lot better than I feel our ancestors have. And you consider this is a land where a lot of activity happens, some crazy wars, civil wars. I was talking about that with my last guest. And so again, just perspective to be smart, don't impact other people. Remember, even though you and I are healthy, we could still potentially have this and pass it on to a family member, a neighbor, someone on a bus, and then all of a sudden they bring it back home to their sick, not even sick, but let's just say it's a compromised immune system, and that could really be detrimental. So that's why I like the travel thing is so important. See a lot of kids, they want to have fun and go celebrate spring break. I get that, but they're really, unfortunately, not thinking about anybody but themselves. Here's what I want to touch on too, and I love this. I did some homework on reading your blogs, and man, I was just like lit up reading your blogs because again, we think very similar, but you were bringing up some really good things that even. Like I'm not claiming that I have it all figured out. I'm constantly looking for things that I could self-improve on. And I noticed that you speak to those things. And one of them is character. Something my father always emphasizes is you got to have character, right? To stand out and be great at something, you're going to have some kind of quirky character that people are going to like because they want to come to you. Sir Amazing, you got that in your name, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got character and personality just beaming out of you. And so I love that. And you talk about this. You have a cool quote. You claim that it's yours. I'm going to give it to you. You know where I'm going with this? It's pleasing personality is like peanut butter. It always sticks, So another classic Sir Amazing quote. Elaborate on the importance of personality and character.
I mean, personality changes everything. So the irony of being down in my family, I'm using an example. I was talking with, I call her my sister cuz. Because she's my cousin, but she's more like my sister.
Right.
And she's older than me. And we're talking about her son. And he's got a booming personality. And I was telling my dad, I'm like, this kid is special. He's got it. Like he's just turned 5 years old, can speak Mandarin. He's reading. Like this is a very talented young man. And we were talking about his personality and how he doesn't change. And she's like, I don't want his light to dim. And then speaking with my stepmother and talking about how personality can dictate how successful we are. Mm-hmm. Being able to relate to a multitude of people, being able to communicate effectively while still keeping authenticity as yourself, that really can dictate more than your quote unquote education, more than the situation you're brought up in. If you have that personality, those people stand out. And it's so ironic because I came up with that was just writing a blog was like, it's like peanut butter, it sticks. Like it has to stick.
Well, here's what I think, not to interrupt, but what's so special about you too is, you're being authentic. You have a personality that is really, I said it in the top of the show, electric, and I mean it. Like, if someone goes to your Instagram channel, they're going to see you are, you're just putting it out into the world coming from your heart, and that part of your character and personality just shines through, which makes it special. Where if someone was trying to be boisterous and have this booming personality, but it was canned, it's going to last very limited time. It's going to be found out. You're a genuine person, which makes it all come together. And if people do want to tune in, you could do that on Instagram at Sir Amazing, and it's spelled AIMEZING. And then you can also check him out right on his website, siramazing.com, AIMEZING.
You know what? Whether you spell it the right way or the wrong way, it's going to take you to the website.
All right, man. That's called rerouting and very smart little marketing work there. Here's what I want to talk about. I don't have it written down. It wasn't planned, but so important is communication, and something that great people that are in your position where you're public speaking, you're working with kids, you're working with people of all ages, really, and you're able to get a complicated message, right? And have them understand it and take action on it by simplifying it, but understanding your audience. So my company is called Social Chameleon. I'm not trying to shamelessly plug myself here, but the reason I went with the title Chameleon was to learn and adapt and grow with everybody being different, right? So I wouldn't talk to you as much as, maybe if I'm talking to your grandfather and happy birthday to your grandfather, I'm going to probably talk to him slightly different than I would you, slightly different than maybe your dad or someone who calls me on the phone for a business call right now. So it's like understanding the communication, but something I know you're great at, and the best speakers in the world are able to take a complex thing, whether it's a sales process or selling a product, and make it so it's crystal clear, fun, educational, and adaptable. And so talk about is that something that you think we're born with, or is that something you work on as your craft?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I would say I'm blessed because my origin, my background is very unique. So I'm African, like I'm Congolese, but I'm also Black American. So I always say like I'm a thoroughbred African American. Sure. So I have many different perspectives. As much as I like eating sombe, and I just have natural tendencies that are unique, like my name. At the same time, I do like chicken. I did drink Kool-Aid, and I do like watermelon. So I still am I love basketball.
Sure.
Rap is my favorite music. So I'm still very much culturally ingrained as an American. Yeah. But at the same time, I also grew up in surroundings where I had to play the role of the token Black guy. I was a token Black kid a lot of times coming up. So my perspective is one thing I always used to say, like, I didn't want my kids, whenever he blessed me to have children, I don't want my kids to go to a private school. Because I went to a school where when I was a senior, I had a group of 10 white kids that are like, hey, man, we really want you to ride on our prom bus. I had my 10 Black friends. You got to come on a prom bus with us. I had foreign exchange students from North Korea, Turkey. There was students from India. There were Native American students. There were Latinos. So I was around so many different kinds of people that my understanding was different. Like you said, everybody looks at things from a different perspective. And one thing I learned, if you've never read this book, I strongly recommend it to everybody listening. Principles by Ray Dalio. And Ray Dalio is a billionaire investor. He's right up there with Warren Buffett and whoever else you want to mention in that same breath. But he says something in that book. It says, be radically open-minded and radically transparent. And when he says that, he's saying, basically, your universe is not my universe. We both are humans, and there's 7.8 billion of us on the planet. Each and every one of us has our own view of the universe. And when you understand that, that opens up the door to say, okay, I am going to communicate differently with grandfather, dad, son, mom, daughter. You're going to communicate differently with everybody because everybody speaks their own language. Not saying you change who you are. You are just to accommodate who you're trying to help. You have to meet them where they are. And it's a combination of self-development, but also I've realized I'm actually an introvert, and I've taken a bunch of personality tests, and it always comes with the same result. But what I understand is that I'm just an instrument. He gave me some gifts, and I have to walk in my purpose and use that gift to help others around me.
Oh man, that is so good. Let's stay right on that. So talk about purpose driven. It's something that the reason I started to do the podcast was the same thing. And I was, in conversation with God and also the universe. Some people don't believe in both. I believe in both. I think they're all kind of one larger thing, right? They come together. And basically my call was, hey, put me in position to do something great to help people out, not self-centered, something, whatever it's talents. It could be, effort. It all ties together, but I wanted it to be for a greater purpose. And all of a sudden, there's things in my life that didn't grow since that conversation. And that's an active conversation. It doesn't happen once and then you just drop it. So the podcast and people I've been meeting, yourself included, have just been like flooding through, and some crazy opportunities to help people out. This is a plug, and this one I'll say it 1,000 times because I'm helping out the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society right now, which I wouldn't have been connected through if it wasn't for a friend that I reconnected with from Buff State. So I'm doing that, nominated as Man of the Year, super exciting. But that came my way after this conversation happened, right? Mm-hmm. But it's also because we're listening and our brains start to solve for what's in the universe. And that is actually something Napoleon Hill says, and I know he's a mentor of both of ours through his written word, right? And so his quote is, whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Let's roll with that, man. What do you tell us more? I get it, but I want my audience to stay on that thought.
Man, I mean, you hit it right on the money. Like, there's so many different examples where it's, as a man thinketh in the heart, so is he. And Napoleon Hill, he goes into deep detail in all of his books on how our mind is connected to our actions. Like, every action we've ever taken was first a thought. And the sooner people get to accept or better understand that, the sooner you can start controlling the superpower that is our brain. The greatest invention in our universe is not anything other than our minds. Our minds, when you put your mind to it, you really can do it. It's not just a cliche that we told kids, or we were told as kids. And it's all about believe. You got to believe. You got to see it. You got to write it down. You got to read it. You got to keep training your mind. Like Napoleon Hill, during his time, people were drifting. And when he wrote Think and Grow Rich, that was during the Great Depression. I.e., anybody right now that's at home, you listening to us, I go get Think and Grow Rich. If you're going to leave your house, at least get some food for your brain, because that food that you get for your brain is going to go so much farther than the food that you're eating now. And to understand that we have to see it before we do it is just, it's a phenomena that I don't think a lot of people truly appreciate. People abuse that idea. It's the same as, I'll use an example. I got my little nephew whose birthday's in a couple of weeks. He's 22. You say a baby is bad, you are putting in the atmosphere bad for that baby. Yeah. You may not see the bad until that baby's 16, but it started when the baby was 1.
Right.
And a lot of people, they just don't understand the power of words and the power of our minds to create these words, create these images. And that's what that means to me. It means when you believe, you can do it. And, you know, faith without works is dead. So you can have all the belief in the world, right, but until I get up and flip the switch, I'm going to be in the dark.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, if you take 2 people and we give them a task, right? It could be anything. It could be small. It could be large. And one person totally believes in it and the other person just needs to do it so they don't get fired, or that they could come back and say, here, I did this, you know, whatever. They get compensated or they don't get compensated. Doesn't even matter, right? It could be $1 million achievement. It could be a free achievement. Whoever believes in it and believes in themselves that they can achieve it, and they've already envisioned themselves getting the end result, I'm going with that guy or gal, because that's who's going to have the chance. Just like Michael Phelps talks about when he won all those gold medals. I think he won 8 or more, right? The day before, and it might be even more than the day before, probably months leading up to it for all I know, but he does, he, in his mind, he's already envisioning what he's sitting down and doing in the morning, what he's eating for breakfast, what he's doing between breakfast and lunch, his travel situation. He's already envisioning everything. He's envisioning the prep for his swim meet. He's preparing the actual competition, and he's preparing in his mind getting the gold medal handed to him. It already happened in his head. So now his body is like, we did this already. Like if I said, you know, hey, go for a walk, right? And you never went there before. And I told another person, go for the same walk. And on the walk, you have to identify a particular thing. First time you go, you're going to be looking at every single house. What did he say? Was it a green thing over here? What was it? Or you and I go for a walk and I say, hey, see that? Next time you go on the walk, I want you to point at that sign. Who's going to have a better chance, right? So, you know, we can do, the cool part about it is with our mind is we can actually go and walk and see the sign. As long as we did it once, we can envision it in our head. And I think that's what people forget is like, you know, I'm all about action. You got to take action. At the end of the day, nothing really does happen if you don't back it up with action. But before you can do that, you have to mindfully be strong, prepared, and ready to rock and roll. There's another quote here. The universe is listening. Every word which began as a thought will be presented to you. You know, that was right from your blog, I believe.
Appreciate the plug.
Right? The universe is listening. What we tell it, what we ask from it will come true. But we got to do our part. Right?
Exactly. I mean, it hits on the money. When I hear that, I automatically think the idea of the single woman was, I just want a man. You just want a man, or you want the man that's going to take care of you the way you want it to. You got to ask specifically what you want, because you'll get the man and it's going to be the wrong man. And it just goes for everything. When somebody limits, there's so many people who limit themselves. Oh, you know, well, I'll never be a millionaire. And every time I hear somebody say that, I say, man, you won't. Yeah. I will. You won't. I will. And I will not stop until I'm where I want to be. And people just,
let's hold on that too, because a lot of people, there's a lot of controversy when the topic of money comes up. And I was someone who I grew up in a great family. I'm proud of where I came from. It was, you know, upper middle class, I guess you can say. I mean, I don't even know how to title it, but my father busted his tail working 32 years at the Ford plant. We did well. Okay. We got to go on family trips and stuff like that, but we were not, you know, millionaires sitting there, whatever. in that environment. And it was like almost kind of like that's them and this is us, even though they didn't say that to me. Right. So, and I've heard plenty of people say it's kind of harder to come out of the middle class than it is to come out of having almost nothing, because your survival mode is going to get you fighting harder than if you're kind of comfortable and things are okay, but you might want to improve it a little bit. Like if you're kind of fit and you want 6-pack abs, but I'm still looking pretty good in the mirror. Or like, I need to make a transformation completely. So why do I say this? Because the topic of money gets a little silly where some people are like, oh, money doesn't buy happiness and this and that. Now I know something. I know that if you had $1 million, you're already doing great things. You're in the community, you're helping children. If you had $1 million, let's say coronavirus doesn't exist right now, you could travel further, you could meet more people, you can write a book, you can give them away for free. You could spend money on ads to sell courses to things that you're going to give mindset to more people who are going to then start new businesses and do bigger things in the world. Money helps. Basically, it's a ticket, right? You can't go to Disneyland with your family or world without that ticket, right? So the experience, people spend thousands of dollars on that experience, but they won't spend thousands of dollars on their mindset and mentality. How come?
Listen, I had a mentor of mine, actually it was maybe a little bit over a year ago, right around this time ago, he said, the moment that you know exactly what you would do with $1 million is when you get it. Mm-hmm. And I do. I know exactly what I would do if I had $1 million to the T. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times we've been trained in a lot of ways to look at money poorly. And there's another book I read, Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker.
Mm-hmm. That comes up quite a bit.
It talks about how our childhoods, in a lot of ways, just little snarky comments by influential people impacts how we view money. And the idea of not teaching children when they get $1 to save 70% is why when they get more money, we spend it.
Yeah.
And it was
never appreciated it in the first place correctly to have more of it. Is something that I think is important. And dude, and just on that too, again, so could it turn into something bad? Sure. I think if someone's heart might be a little evil, or even if it wasn't, if they're an innocent person who came upon some money and all of a sudden things started presenting themselves in their life, just like an athlete that goes from a starving paycheck to paycheck college student to king of the world, money thrown at him, women thrown at him, cars thrown at him, opportunities thrown at him. They could have been a genuine hearted person, but now all of a sudden the manipulation gets to them, right? And there's more forces in the universe, right? There's the other side too, the dark side, right? We'll talk about that. And so, again, being strong in the spirit and strong in your mindset are going to allow you, when you're a good person and great person, to do better things with that money. So I'm just going to leave it at that, right? I mean, so you and I are all about achieving and tying dollars to that achievement, because I do want to impact the world. And I'm still working on being more laser focused on what my mission is, but I know my mission is a lot more than what you see right here. It's everything else around me. And basically that's a planet that I was grateful to be born on. But I don't want to take too much talk about me. I want to talk about you. You mentioned your mentor. I don't know if this is the same person or not, but I actually recently ran into one of your mentors, and I've known him for a handful of years, actually. And he's also booked on the show. Okay. But here's what's funny about it. You actually beat him to the punch. You're on first before your mentor. So you can even say that you were out hustling your mentor, and that's Robert Grant, a friend of mine. So is that who you were talking about, Robert Grant?
It actually wasn't, but that's OG Red. It's funny. That's what I call him affectionately. Omega Red. Yeah. My little brother's a Black Lightning fan, so I was telling him, like, I know somebody who did a theme song for Black Lightning. Really? I'm like, yeah. That's my. I owe a lot of the things that I was able to accomplish. I definitely owe to him, being under his wing. He's a great man who really, he always puts you in the right position to meet the right people at the right time. And that's the best way that I can describe him.
He is a great connector of people, for sure. He's already done that in my life. Yeah.
Makes things happen.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm gonna tell him.
he's got the big dreams too, and but he's doing it as well. Omega Red. I mean, he's out. He's traveling Buffalo to Boston. You know, again before this coronavirus thing, he was doing a lot more traveling, of course, and he knows what he wants to do. He's going to get it, and he's helped people like yourself. So I have a ton of respect for Robert. And that was, just mentioned he's going to be on in a few weeks. I'm excited to talk to him, but I actually ran into him a few weeks ago and mentioned your name, just like, hey, I got a couple cool guests coming up. Want to get you on the show. And I said, Sir Amazing? And he just had this big grin on his face. Like, do I know? Do I know Sir Amazing? Oh, man, so much fun. So here's the scoop. I want to get rolling. I know we only have a few more minutes. So tell us about a time when you overcame adversity and how your mindset had helped you get there, right? And maybe what it took to get you to where you're at today. I know our initial conversation, you got very transparent. What can you share with our audience to help inspire them?
We only have a couple minutes, so I wouldn't have enough time. But what I can share is that I have a book coming out that's going to answer that exact question.
Awesome.
And it'll be out actually the next month. And I really look forward to sharing my story with the world and just hopes of helping someone be a hero too.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us kind of a summarized message? It doesn't have to be pertaining to the book, but I love that. And what I'll do is if you do have some notes, I'll add that to my website. And the full episode goes on YouTube. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. So let's get that information out to everybody. If you can summarize one message, which is on point with my mission, to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams, what would that be?
I'm just going to hit you with this. Everyone needs a hero. You can be a hero too.
That's awesome, man. That could be for parents. That could be for business leaders. It could be for your neighbor. I love it, man. That is cool. I never had anyone drop it quite like that. So brief. You don't need a lot of words to make a big statement. You just prove that. Can you tell us 3 things you're grateful for?
I'm thankful for life, the ability to breathe. I'm thankful for my family, all of them. There's so many people that on a day-to-day basis, I might just watch a video, look at a picture. They have no idea how much they inspire me to keep going. And I'm thankful for my identity. And I say that because I was just with my dad and we were going through some things from the work that my grandfather did, who I never had the ability to meet. He passed because he wasn't able to come to the States. I wasn't able to go see him. But I have his name. And the ability to know exactly where my name comes from, exactly where my family resides, to have that rich origin, because a lot of people that look like me don't have that connection isn't there. And the blessing of being who I am, I understand what that means to not have that connection, but I'm blessed to have it. And I don't take it for granted. And even on my American side, on my mother's side, there are so many people that have done so many great things that have truly inspired me. So I'm just thankful for my identity. And I'm thankful to know that my dad's the only other A-man that I know.
And it's interesting, your dad pronounces it, that's his name, and so he pronounces it a little bit different than your mother. So if people are calling you, they're saying, I call you Sir Amazing.
That always works.
But it's May, or how is the other way to pronounce it?
So my dad says May, my mom says Ame. She holds the A differently.
Okay.
It's like the American version.
You know what's funny about that is both mom and dad are right.
Exactly. That's why I tell people you can't go wrong with those. You got 3 choices. Man. You got 3 choices. You got Ame, or Sir Amazing.
I like Sir Amazing myself, and I'm sure you guys are loving it too. You can go back. There's so many great notes in here. The 2 books we talked about, or 3 books that were talked about, are just classics. It's again mindset first, words second, self-talk, and then take the actions to do it. You can check my man out right here at Sir Amazing, AIMEZING. That's Instagram, and also siramazing.com. Thank you so much for your time. Our friendship has just begun. Our first phone call a couple of weeks ago, it started. This is putting it into a different gear, and I got you, in my network now, and we can help each other out. And that's what this is truly about. So thank you for your time today. Really looking forward to staying connected.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Stay healthy. Best wishes with your daughter. Hopefully we'll be able to meet in person sometime soon when this whole thing comes to an end.
I agree, man. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Appreciate you. You too.
Hey guys, I appreciate you hanging out all the way until the end. I wanted to also acknowledge all the madness going on right now surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic, coronavirus. My thoughts and prayers go out to everyone to find peace and not let fear overtake your comfort, both mentally and spiritually. Be smart. Tune into the recommended procedures in your county. Do not be ignorant. The best way to get through this is to stop it from continuing to rapidly spread, and we can do that if we limit the opportunity. Stay home. It's really that simple. Do what you can from home. Enjoy the extended time with your family if possible. Have a game night. Do your calls from Zoom or an online platform. Read a book. Learn a new skill that helps you better serve your fellow man. We're in this together. Let's keep rolling. I love you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in. I wanted to get that out there. Let's stay together during this hard time and use it as a time to love our families and our neighbors. Be strong and persevere. Appreciate your reviews and messages coming in on social media. Keep them coming. You guys can check out more show notes and information on each episode at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.